Since Donald Trump became president-elect, his litany of criminal cases has slowly disappeared. Sentencing in his hush money case in Manhattan, where a jury found him guilty of 34 felony counts, is now indefinitely postponed. The pending federal cases against Trump for his alleged mishandling of classified documents and attempts to overturn the 2020 election have now ended. Earlier this week, special counsel Jack Smith filed motions to drop all 44 federal criminal counts in those cases, citing the Justice Department's position that a sitting president cannot be charged. And now Trump's lawyer is demanding that New York Attorney General Letitia James drop her case against Trump, too. Attorney General James successfully prosecuted Trump for civil fraud. In February, a judge found him liable for manipulating his net worth to defraud banks and insurers. He now owes the state of New York more than $450 million in damages. That judgment is currently being appealed. But in a letter to Attorney General James, Trump's lawyer argues, quote, President Trump has called for our nation's partisan strife to end and for the contending factions to join forces for the greater good of the country. This call for unity extends to the legal onslaught against him and his family that permeated the most recent election cycle. Joining me now is Christy Greenberg, former federal prosecutor who served for over a decade in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. Christy, good to see you. Thank you for being here for the good of the country. What do you make of that?
I mean, it's so absurd, right? I mean, the idea that, this whole letter, it's 4 pages and it's a history lesson. He's citing Abraham Lincoln and the Thanksgiving Proclamation and George Washington, all about this call for unity, when all Donald Trump is called for is a call for retribution against the people who investigated him, against the prosecutors who prosecuted his cases. He's called the Democrats the enemy from within. And then this very lawyer who drafted this letter is the one who got up before the Supreme Court and said Donald Trump has the power to order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate his political rivals. Like this is not about a call for unity. I mean, it is laughable. This is not a serious legal argument. Nothing in here is a serious legal argument. It's more political rhetoric that's really, as Judge Chutkan has said about Trump's lawyers, unbefitting of experienced defense counsel.
And yet it's coming on the heels of these other cases being dropped. So what makes this case different?
Well, one way in which this case is different is this is a civil fraud case. This is not a criminal case. And this is not a federal DOJ where they dismissed their cases or moved to dismiss their cases because there was DOJ policy to do that. Here you have a civil case where there is Supreme Court law that's very clear in Clinton v. Jones, and it was actually upheld even in this most recent immunity decision that says if you're talking about unofficial acts that happened before the president was the president, there is no immunity for that. And you actually can still bring those claims while a president is a sitting president. Like that case can go on. But Clinton v. Jones doesn't show up at all in this letter. It's 4 pages. He cites a lot of case law. None of it relates to the fact that this is a civil case and it is different from the others.
So what do you think James does?
I think she laughs. She gets a good laugh this Thanksgiving Eve. I mean, maybe she responds to it, but it's clearly hey, this is nonsense. We're not dropping anything. And by the way, he's asking for the entire case to be dismissed. So Donald Trump was one defendant in this case, but this was a case against other family members. This was a case against Trump's businesses, right? Like this was not just against Donald Trump. So the idea that that Tish James should just drop the entire case against everybody is, just, again, laughable.
So this request for dismissal, it was sent by John Sauer, who, as you know, is Trump's pick for Solicitor General. Just how unusual is that?
But this is why it's also, the letter is a love letter to Donald Trump. He talks about the fact that, he's the most successful developer in all of New York City. This is a historic election victory. I mean, all the kind of flattery that's in here that's why he was picked. I mean, this is what Trump does. It's kind of not just the law, but all of his picks. You have to be kissing the ring. You have to be somebody who flatters him. And that's how you get into his orbit. And he really sees, I think, the Department of Justice and the Solicitor General and all of these legal positions really is people who are going to be his lawyers, focus on his interests, not the interests of the public, but his own. And that is very, very dangerous and something we've never seen before.
Well, perhaps at that point, he has said he's willing to take this case all the way up to the Supreme Court. What happens then?
I mean, again, I think the Supreme Court precedent here is pretty clear, at least with respect to this case. But, with the Supreme Court, who knows? I mean, I think we all also thought that there wouldn't be complete, immunity for criminal prosecution for official acts. And, that was a very surprising decision. So I think you can never really count out the Supreme Court to do something that hasn't been done before.
Christy Greenberg, what a treat to have you with us in studio. Thank you so much for being with us.